Hey, everybody, this is Lauren, the Cheerful Baker, and we are getting ready to decorate our cute reindeer cookie. So, if you are new to my page, welcome, welcome. If you are old to my page, then thank you for joining. Most of you know that I have a Cheerful box, which is a cookie cutter kit in a box. And all week last week, we've been decorating one of the cutters in the box, and tonight we are going to continue that on. So, tonight it is Rudolph's turn. And when I do these, what I like to do is I like to play the video of me decorating because then I can talk on top of it and I can answer any questions you all have. So if you are showing up as Facebook user, because two people just said hello, you can go and you can um, at the top of this video, there should be something that says that you allow StreamYard to say your name, or you can just tell me who you are. But thank you for joining tonight. It feels like it's 10 o'clock outside because it's so dark. But before further ado, y'all ready to see cute little hey, Lori. Are y'all ready to see the cute reindeer? So, in this set that you're going to see at the very beginning, I've decorated a lot of the cookies in this set, and you can go back. Hey, Michelle, you can go back and see them on my page. And then, if you would like to purchase the box that includes all of the cookies that you're going to see at the beginning of this little video. This is a real short video. This is a real short live. Then you can go to cheerfulcutters.com. Let's see if I can do this. Cheerfulcutters.com and look for the Cheerful box. And this month, it's very exciting. This month, if you become a new Cheerful box subscriber, you will also get the recipes that I use on the Food Network Christmas Cookie Challenge, which are delicious. One is chocolate covered strawberries, one is lemon curd and pecan, and one is gingerbread. So those are normally $24. I sell them in my shop. So you can buy the recipes or you can subscribe to the box and you will get the recipes. So without further ado, let's decorate Rudolph. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you that you love your Cheerful box, and I will answer them as we go along. Dance with this. So that's the Cheerful box set. Here we go. Here's Rudolph. And I want to pause here for just a moment because I don't know if you can tell in the video, but I actually drew the outline of Rudolph on the cookie. And the edible markers that I use are from Chef Master. Those are what I like to draw on just plain cookies without icing. They work fantastic. I've had the same Chef Master markers for years, and they do not, I mean, they work great on cookies. You can order them, I believe, on Amazon, or I don't even know if they make them anymore. I mean, I'll be honest, but you can check Chef Master. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Corrine. So let's continue. And here I'm using a darker brown piping consistency icing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around Rudolph's face. Now, what I'm doing here is I just filled that in with piping icing, and then I'm actually taking it away because you're going to see what I'm going to do. I really just want to leave the stain of the icing on there. So I take that away. Then I'm going to continue with the piping icing, which is about the consistency of toothpaste. And then I'm going to do the bottom. And so you can see a little bit of that brown underneath. But then I decide that I want to fill it in after all, because the cool thing about cookies is you can totally change your mind. So I'm going to fill that in. That's like his little mouth. And next, I'm going to do where the antlers are. And again, I'm using piping consistency icing. And if you have questions about royal icing, I have my royal icing recipe, my meringue powder recipe, and my royal icing 101 class on my website. But new Cheerful Box subscribers also get that. You get lots of stuff. So, next, I'm going to use that same color and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fill this in with flooding consistency icing. And the biggest thing that newer decorators don't do, the biggest thing that I find when I do classes is that they don't add enough icing. So make sure that you add plenty of icing when you are decorating your cookie. And then you'll notice that I use my scribe. I wiggle in the icing, but I'm actually not spreading the icing with the scribe. If you have to spread your icing, you either have it too thick or you have not put enough on your cookie. Because the beauty of royal icing is it pretty much does all the work. You just sometimes have to wiggle your scribe. I hold it up and down and wiggle the icing into place. So that's what I'm doing. Do you see how I'm kind of wiggling it? Next, I'm gonna take that dark brown icing again, and I want his ears to have 2 parts. You wouldn't have to do that, you could just do one, just one solid ear, but I think it's cute to have the 2 parts. And that is piping consistency. Next, I'm gonna take my flood, and I'm gonna fill that in. And the way that you can make sure that your Rudolph has 2 parts to his ear are we're gonna let this one area dry until it's crusted over. That's a good question. I'll answer that, Danielle. You wanna let it dry until it's crusted over before you do the other part. So here is a great question. Do you need to wait for piping icing to dry before flooding? No, you can do it automatically because the piping icing is thicker. You can go ahead and do it immediately. That is a good question that I'm sure lots of other people have. So I have let that part of my ear dry probably about 5 minutes. And you can tell when it's ready because it is dull. And because this is such a small little area, you're welcome. I'm actually going to use piping icing. And so when I use piping icing, and you'll notice here on the next ear, I really wiggle the bag when I'm squeezing it out. That helps the thicker icing to settle. But if I use, so see how I really wiggle it? If I use flooding icing in here, there's a good chance it'll crater. So I'm using piping icing and then I'm just going to wiggle it around until it settles. My piping icing isn't real thick. It's toothpaste consistency, but it still enables if you move it around, it'll settle. Next, we're going to go ahead, and I did not wait for that part of the ear to dry because it was such a teeny part that touched the face. So I'm going ahead and I'm going to take my brown icing and I'm going to completely fill in the face. Linda had a good question. How many seconds is piping icing? Linda, I don't actually count my icing by seconds. If you take my class, you'll see I use the plop method. And so I actually lift my icing out and look at it based on how it plops into the bowl. Um, I know that's hard to explain just by me telling you, but if it runs into the bowl, it's too runny. If it does not come off of my spoon when I pull it up or my knife, it's too thick. So I sort of want it to plop into the bowl, run, and then plop. And that's how I use it. But in my royal icing class, I explain much better because I have video to show you exactly what I mean. But what I always suggest to people is once you're making cookies, what you want to do is find your perfect icing. And then if you want to count it, you'll just draw your knife through the icing and then you will count how many seconds until it closes up. Because what I find is that people use the icing consistency that works best for them. I see people using really thin flood and really thick piping, and that just doesn't work for me. I use a little bit of a thinner flood or piping than some people use, and I use a thicker flood. So once you make one cookie that you love, put it, take the rest that you have in your bowl, count it, write it down somewhere, and then you will know what works perfectly for you. Now, again, I'm just wiggling that icing around. I'm not spreading it. I'm just wiggling it. And if you have a little tip that's sticking up out of your icing, you can just barely touch it with the scribe or the toothpick and it'll sink back down in there. Now, while my icing is dry, again, it's crusted over. So it's lost its shine. You could put the nose on at this point, but I'll wait a little bit longer because the nose, I don't want it to break the crust of my icing. So I would wait probably 30 minutes before I do this part because I think it would be easy to mess up that beautiful flood. So you'll notice that I put a little dot there. The reason I did that is where the bottom of my nose is. So that just helps my eye to guide where I'm going to make my nose on my cookie with this beautiful bright red icing. And I'm making it a little bit rounded on the top. And then I'm gonna fill it in. So this is more like a 20-second icing if you count your icing, meaning it's a medium consistency. You can pipe and flood with it. That's what I'll use for little areas like this. And because it's not you could use a thinner icing right here because you don't have to worry about running over the edge of the cookie, but you wanna use a little bit thicker because a medium consistency because you want Rudolph's nose to be big and full. You could also use if you just want are more comfortable with 2 consistencies, you could use a piping and a flooding to do his nose. And then do you see that little line on top? That's from the actual light, but I'm gonna draw a light on there using white piping icing. Next, I'm gonna use black piping icing, and I'm gonna draw Rudolph's little eyes. Next, you'll see this brush I love. It's from Chewa Cookies, and it is a double-sided brush. I use it in almost every video. It has 2 wonderful ends that are teeny tiny, plus it's pretty, so I like using it, but it works great, and I use gel color, Americolor, most of the time, sometimes Chef Master, gel color in black, and a brush. My hand is very steady, but for some reason, if I were to try and do this with an edible marker, my line is never straight. It always shakes a little bit. So for me personally, I love using a brush. But if your cookie is completely dry, you can use Tweets markers. They're called Tweets Cookie Connections, and they have the best markers on the market without a doubt, hands down. They dry really fast, they don't smudge, they are my favorite. I would not use them to draw on cookies because that's just wasting these unbelievable markers. Get cheap Chef Master markers to write on your cookies, but get incredible Tweets markers. Not that they're expensive, but they're just much nicer markers to do the details on the outside of your cookies. So I'm going to draw in the eyebrows, and then I always have to turn my cookie over to do the other side because for the life of me, I cannot do both with the cookie straight on. And then I like to take white piping icing and do little bitty dots on my cookie. And I'm going to give you a tip here. If it's hard for you, I mean, the dots don't have to be perfect, but if it's hard for you to do that, what you can do is you can actually squeeze out a little bit of icing onto the tip of your scribe, and then you can place that on your eye. Sometimes that's an easier way to do it. Now we've got to add the little cheeks. So I use Sterling Pearl by the Sugar Art and a real soft brush, and I'm just going to color the little reindeer cheeks. And look, that cookie is done. And that was not a difficult cookie at all, especially if you wouldn't even have to do that little mouth at the bottom. You could just do, the entire cookie and the entire face, and then you could do the ears without doing two sections. So this is really a fast, cute cookie. Another thing that you could do is you could take edible gold and you could paint his antlers gold, which I would love. Or because the antlers are kind of, fat, wider, you could do a string of lights going around it. You could either do that with icing or you can buy the lights that are the sprinkles, which would be adorable. Now, I'm going to give you a little tip on how to cut out cookies with small areas like this. There's two keys. One, you want to use really cold dough. If you use really cold dough, then you can use a cutter with a small area like at the top of that. Can you see where I'm pointing? I know you can't, but at the right here at the top, um, you can use really cold dough. So what I'll do is I'll actually roll my dough out the correct thickness and on a piece of parchment paper. I'll put another piece of parchment paper on top. I'll stick it in the refrigerator till it gets super good and cold. And then I'll cut out my designs if I'm doing something like this. Another thing you could do is you could use a very wide, I'll use like a wide soup bowl, works great, a really wide one. You put flour in it, you dip your cookie cutter in the flour, you kind of shake it off so it doesn't have excess flour, and you can do that, and it helps. That makes it a lot easier too. Using warm cookie dough and an unfloured cutter will never give you good results. So if you all have any questions about that, feel free to ask. If you are watching this on the replay, um, thank you for watching. And does anybody have any questions about what we just did about cute little Rudolph? Again, let me show you something up here. Hold on one second. Who has made their Christmas cookies yet, or the designs that they're going to use for their Christmas cookies? I would love to know. I was always a last second kind of girl. I never did it before Thanksgiving. But I want to show you two other things. The first, one of the trickiest things that I found as a new cookie decorator and as an older cookie decorator, more experienced, this still totally trips me up, is what size box to use to put cookies in. How many cookies does a box fit? I mean, it makes my head want to explode. I'm not kidding. I have a mat that has it's a like a cutting mat when I used to do scrapbooking, and it has the measurements on it. And I would actually put the cookies down on the mat to try and figure out what size box to buy. And even doing that just made me insane. So I finally made myself a cheat sheet, which shows what size box to get, how many boxes will fit in it, and where to get the boxes. And then I decided to share that with you. So if you go to cheerfulcutters.com, let me show you where you can find that. Hold on, I have to sneeze. Excuse me. Okay. If you click on it right here, this is gonna pop up, and you put your email in it, and then you click this button right here, "Send me that cookie packaging cheat sheet," and then I'll email it to you, and, I hope that it will help you. It helps me. I have to look at it. I'm not kidding you, every time I buy boxes, or before holidays if I wanna do cookie sets, because I still can't remember what sizes, so I hope that that cheat sheet helps you all. Next, this is my cheerful box. These are the cookie cutters that you get in the box. There's 6 large cookie cutters. One of them is that cute little reindeer that we just did. You also get 3 mini cookie cutters and a stencil, and then you get a YouTube class that I do that shows you step by step how to decorate every cookie in the box. And this month only, you get the recipes that I use on the Christmas Cookie Challenge, which is chocolate covered strawberry, gingerbread, and lemon curd pecan cheesecake. These are the best cookies. This would be great for Thanksgiving. You don't even have to put icing on them. They're delicious if you like lemon. Here's the designs, the large cookies that you make with the cookie cutters. Here's some more. And then again, there's the cookies that you make, and that's me. And so you don't just get the recipes, but you get the Royal Icing 101 class, my homemade meringue powder, and my royal icing, because I thought you can't really decorate cookies if you don't know how to make the icing. So I try and make that step a lot easier. Let's see. I made cookies but have not iced them yet. Oh, Corrine says you're doing elf cookies yet. I'm going to say a prayer for you because those are a lot of steps. And you ran out of 5x7 bags. Man, that's a nightmare, isn't it? When you're going to bag cookies and you don't have what you need. I've spent many hours on the road to Michael's because I didn't have enough bags, and Michael's is about 30 minutes from my house. Tracy, you made 8 batches of dough and 2 batches of icing today. Good job. That's the way to do it. That makes life easier. So I'm going to hop off here and go and feed my son because he is perfectly capable of feeding himself. But he asked me if I would make something for him, and I'm going to, because he's a senior in high school and I won't be able to make stuff for him next year, if he goes away to college. So I did just put the link to the cookie cutter box. If you're interested, you can go check it out. You can check out the other cookie cutters that I have, and get yourself the packaging cheat sheet. So thank you all. I appreciate you so much. I tell you, I went to church today where my husband grew up. It was the 65th anniversary, and the minister his name's Bob Russell. He was fantastic, and the whole sermon was about gratitude and how being grateful really helps you live a happier life, live the kind of life that God wants you to live. And I thought about my customers and my Cheerful Box subscribers. And I tell you, I'm truly grateful for you all. Without you, this dream of mine would not have become a reality. So I just really can't tell you how thankful I am today for each and every one of you. And I hope you have a cheerful day and a wonderful week. Bye.